This lesson on GED Toolbox is all about an introduction to integers. Sometimes people call this signed numbers. Signed numbers. Either way, we're talking about positive and negative numbers, numbers with signs. As mysterious as the word integers may seem, or signed numbers, it really simply means working with positive and negative numbers, as I said. And as we go through this lesson, and also the next couple of lessons on GED Toolbox, hopefully you will begin to see that they all make sense. So let's get started, shall we? I think we should start with a number line. It's often easier to understand integers if you first visualize it as walking up and down a number line. So here we have a number line. Let's make a couple of observations. There are arrows at the ends of this number line, and that simply means, as you know, that it goes on and on forever. It includes as many numbers as we want it to include. We also can observe that on the numbers to the right are all positive and the numbers to the left are all negative. So we've got positive and negative. So let's just jump right in here and look at a math problem. We're going to start with one that is ridiculously easy. 1 plus 4. Yeah, you already know the answer to that. But let's see how it works with a number line. I wanted it to be way easy so that you could sort of see how this thing works. When you're doing a math problem with a number line, you start with the first number that you come to left to right, and that would be whole number 1. That would be right here. So we say 1, and then we're going to add 4 numbers to the right because they're all positive numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you see that we easily come up with 5, whole number 5. So that is our answer. No problem. The next one that we might take a look at is negative 1 plus positive 3. Again, we're going to start with the first number we come to, and that's negative 1. That's here. And I can see that the second number is positive, so I'm going to head toward positive world. 1, 2, 3. I come up with positive 2. Not too complicated. Let's see what's next. How about 2 plus negative 3? Now, I put my second number, which is negative, in parentheses simply because I don't want it to get all tangled up with that addition sign. My mathematical operation is one thing, and my number is another thing. It's negative. Sometimes you will see negative numbers without parentheses, but you'll be able to understand that it means negative number. But in this instance, today, for right now, I just wanted to keep everything separate. 2 plus negative 3. I'm going to start with positive number 2, but my second number is negative. So I'm going to start walking into negative world to the left. 1, 2, 3. And I end up at negative 1. So my answer is negative 1. All right, one more and then we're done with this. Negative 2 plus negative 3. Interesting. Both numbers are negative. So what I'm going to do here is I'm simply going to stay in negative world. I'm going to start with negative 2, and I'm going to add 3 numbers to the left. 1, 2, 3. I end up with negative 5. Now I want you to make an observation here quickly. Our first problem over here is made up of all positive numbers. Positive 1 plus positive 4 equals positive 5. Our last problem here is made up of all negative numbers. Negative 2 plus negative 3 equals negative 5. Hopefully you've made the observation that if all the numbers have the same sign, we simply go that direction on the number line. If they're all negative, we make them all negative. Negative 2 plus negative 3 equals negative 5. Second grade math all the way. Not so much on these middle two, but we're going to get to them. But that observation that if the signs are all the same, you'll simply add those numbers together and give your answer the sign of the add-ins, or the numbers that you're adding together. Now I want to take a look at another kind of number line that's a little bit different. Sometime in a workbook or a textbook or on a test maybe, you might see a number line that looks somewhat similar to the one that I just drew. It's got some flipping and flopping going on here. It's got arrows going one direction and then arrows going another direction. This number line actually represents the math problem of 7 plus negative 5. Now, how did I ever get that out of that? It's really very simple. You start with 0 and you go from 0 to positive 7, do a quick U-turn, and then you go back the direction toward negative world 5 places, and you end up at positive 2. And that is the answer to this math problem, is positive 2. Let's take a look at another one of these and see exactly how we got that. Let's see if we can draw this crazy flipping and flopping number line with this problem. 3 plus negative 4. We start with 0. We go to 3. Do a quick U-turn. And we can tell that we're doing a U-turn because we have a negative 4 going on there. And so we're going to just simply go back this direction to negative 1. And in fact, the answer to the problem is negative 1. 3 plus negative 4 equals negative 1. We started at 0, we went to positive 3, did a quick U-turn, and then we ended back up, marching 4 places into negative world at negative 1. The reason I wanted to bring this to your attention is that it's a little startling sometimes if you just happen on this on a test or in a workbook. And sometimes they're going to ask you to solve this problem, or maybe even identify it, maybe both. Write the problem and solve it. But now you kind of know what to expect when you see something like this. Now let's see if we can work a little magic with integers without a number line. Let's see if we can do it mathematically. I'm also going to be giving you some more tips about integers as we go along with this portion. And let's start with this math problem, 3 minus 5. I'm going to talk to you about what you're going to need to do in order to do this problem. The very first step, and you need to make note of this, the very first step is I want to rewrite this problem as an addition problem. I don't want to do a subtraction problem. I want to make it addition. So I would rewrite this problem as 3 plus, what am I going to do with that 5? Negative 5. 3 plus negative 5. I could maybe describe this as changing the operation from subtraction to addition and then changing the sign of the second number. That's a good way to describe it. Let's look at another one. How about this problem? 10 minus 13. Well, the rule is I don't want to subtract. I only want to add. So I'm going to change the operation to addition, and then I'm going to change the sign of the second number. It will be negative. Now, that's all well and good, but what's the math? Very simple. When the signs are different in an addition problem, you're going to do second grade math. You're simply going to subtract the smaller number from the larger number. Second grade math, 5 minus 3. And the answer is 2. But in this scenario, I'm going to pay close attention to the larger number and give the answer the sign of the larger number. This instance, 3 plus negative 5 equals negative 2. Remember, I just did the math. I just did second grade math, and I found the difference. So this rule in working with integers is, if the signs are different, you're going to find the difference. 3 plus negative 5 is really 5 minus 3 equals 2. But I give it the negative sign of the larger number, or I give it the sign of the larger number. Same scenario here with 13 and 10. 13 is the larger number, minus 10. Here's my second grade math. I get 3. But I'm going to give it the sign of the larger number, which is 13. So the answer is not just going to be 3. It's going to be negative 3. Now I want to give you a couple of other rules for doing some problems. And let's clear the decks here. The first rule is, we've already talked about, if the signs are the same, just add. If the signs are different, find the difference. And give it the sign of the larger number. And give it the sign of the larger number. That's an important piece of information. Also, if the signs are different, you're going to subtract them. You're just going to do second grade math. Subtract the smaller number from the larger number. If the signs are the same, you simply add them together. Let's look at a couple of examples before we end up here. If we had negative 2 plus negative 4, that's going to be negative 6. My signs are the same. I simply add them together and give them the sign of the numbers I'm adding. Negative 3 plus positive 5. Well, the signs are different. So I'm going to find the difference in these two numbers. 5 minus 3 is 2. And I'm going to give it the answer, the sign of the larger number, which in this case is positive. So my answer is positive 2. One more example. 9 plus 2. No problems there. 9 plus 2 is positive 11. The signs are the same, and so I just add them together and keep the sign of the two numbers I'm adding. That's pretty simple so far, don't you think? Well, stay tuned for another lesson on GED Toolbox when we are going to kick it up a notch with adding and subtracting integers. Sorry about that. All right. Good luck with your math. Thanks for stopping by the GED Toolbox. Until next time.